guys, welcome to another edition of the Tribal Council. We are on the 6th of March, 2018. Wowza. So I hope everyone has had a good week out there. So the Tribal Council, the outcome and the aim of the Tribal Council is to have that weekly check-in, provide you some tips and techniques of different areas within the business, and really assist you to grow and to keep on leveraging your business, but also be held accountable to ensure that you actually get the work done. So there's a couple of things that we're going to be covering. So last week we went through the new leadership advantage model. And this is a model that really assists you on building and leading your high performance teams. What we've noticed over in the past is that when we first start out in business, we want to have that profit. You know, we want our business to be profitable. We want to maintain the alignment to our purpose. And yet as we grow, we want to have that peace of mind that we know basically stuff's getting done. And so there are three key areas which we'll be going through over the next couple of weeks to really assist you of attaining that profit, purpose, and peace of mind. And those three key areas is building high performance teams, training high performance teams, and then leveraging high performance teams. So this is what we're going to go through each and every week. We're going to go through each of those three areas, and each of those three areas are then chunked into three separate areas from there. So it's really cool, really simple. The files there are two places for the files. I've just loaded them in the on Facebook in the files there, and I've also put them in. They'll be in the Members Resource Center as well. So Kim will send out a link to that a little bit later. So I want to hear from you. What's been a highlight for you for this week? What's been a win? What's been a success? If you're watching the recording, just leave a comment below in relations to what's been a win and what's been a success for you for this week. All right, excellent. So some good wins for those throughout the week. Good to hear, great to see. So just to recap, let's going to share the screen here. Where are we? Here we go. Beautiful. So just to remember, this is the leadership model. So here we go. This is the leadership advantage model, okay? So there's three key areas for this. There's the build component, there's the train component, and there's the leverage component. Now, just a reminder for what we went through last week is that we've got the build component, and that's made up of three key areas. We have the recruitment stage, we have the onboarding stage, and we have the culture stage when we're building these high performance teams. Then we're going to go into the train element, and the train element is looking at your vision, mission, values, the buy-in, your KPI set, and the tools required for your training. Now, when we have build and train, we start to get time back, all right? We start to leverage our time. We start to get that time back. Then when we move into leverage, so we have leverage, which is manage, retain, and duplicate. And when we have train and leverage, we start to scale. And when we have build and leverage, we start to have growth. And then bring all that together, we have profit, purpose, and peace of mind, all right? So today what we'll be covering will be the build section. And there's three key areas when it comes to build. Now, what happens when we don't do these things is that when we don't start to build is that we have reliant on yourself. So the sense of you doing everything reliant on, you're wearing all the hats when you don't start to build a team. When we don't train is that problems start to arise and you start to fix the problems yourself. And when you don't leverage the team, what happens is that you're back doing all the jobs yourself. So today we're going to start to fix those problems for you and with you, and ensure that you've got a piece of paper and a pen ready to go. So let's get into it, and let's roll the sleeves up and away we go. All right, so the first process is that we're going to look at is this recruitment stage. And there's three key areas when we're talking about recruitment. So firstly, it's about getting the ad right? Getting the role right. Because what I see time and time again is people just write out all the technical stuff that they want in a role. And this is the first recipe for disaster, because they're looking for someone on a technical element rather on a values base. You can teach the technical, you can't teach the values. So what we want to do is to really start to build some of those areas in what are your values. So hopefully You've done your vision, mission, and values and what you stand for. And the reason why this is so important is I'll give you an example. So I've been working with this business now for about just over a year now. And one of the first things that we did was to really articulate their vision, their mission, and their values. And it took a little bit of time, but we got there and they were super excited about what they have created. And so excited is that they actually put it up on their office wall. So when you walk into their office, they've got their vision, they've got their mission, and they've got their values. Now, why is that important? Now, because what happens every time people walk in there, they either do two things. They go, yeah, whatever, right? Or they go, wow, how cool is that? Now, do you think you'd be employing the person that would go in there and go, yeah, whatever? Or do you think you'd be looking at and having further conversations with those going, wow, that's something I want to be a part of. That's inspiring. That's motivating. That's something that I want to align myself with. And so by creating your vision, mission, values gives you that sense of purpose, gives you that sense of this is the direction, this is where we're going, and these are the reasons why, and this is who we stand for. It's no different when we go through recruitment. So what I'm going to encourage you is to write out your values in this section of where it says recruitment, values-based ad and role. And I want you to write down your own values. If you haven't done your values for your business, what are your own personal values? Or what are the values, if you have, what are the values for the business? What are then the values for this role? They should be very aligned, but are there other additional values that you're looking for within this person that needs to be for this role? So example would be if you're looking for a finance manager, attention to detail or pride in their work is of importance, right? Excuse me. Now that's a value. That's a value base that we want to look at. So once you've got these values out, then it's actually writing this in an ad. So by asking them questions, do you take pride in your work? Do you love that attention to detail? Do you like to finish things? Do you like to see things completed? Do you value fun within the office? Do you value a sense of community, a sense of belonging? All these things, whatever your values are, these needs to be in your job ad. All right. Why? Because what happens is that people, there's no difference from when you're actually going through looking for new clients and looking for new team members. It is pretty much the same process. You want to have your avatar team members, same as you want your avatar clients, right? What happens if we get confused is that one, we go reactive with our recruitment and we try and hire anyone with a pulse, right? Big mistake. What we want to do is to look at the process of having, obviously, as I said before, always be recruiting. But when we're going through this process is ensuring that the person is aligned to your values, because it's so much easier to teach the technical stuff compared to the value stuff. So there's the first component. What are your values and how have you written them in your ad? The next component of this is the interview process. So what you want to do is, a lot of the time I hear in interviews is, do you use Excel? There's a great, check out my Facebook page. I've just posted this morning an interview with a gentleman and a millennial. It's very funny. I won't say anymore. But looking at how do you actually ask values-based questions and experience-based questions when it comes to your interview process. So often I hear, as I said, are you proficient in Excel? Yeah. Do you know PowerPoint? Yeah. But we want to look at, well, what's the value behind that, right? And that could be, give me an example of how you've taken pride in your work. Give me an example of how you've done whatever it takes to finish the task. What you want to do is to, obviously from your role, is that you've got values that you're looking for. And now you need to turn them into questions. Now you want to ask them the question through an experience. Tell me a time. Give me an example of. Tell me an occasion when. And so what you want to do is that, because there are two things, is they will either remember a time or they'll try to make up a time. And a lot of people, when you answer this question, they will skip around it if they don't know the answer. So when you're interviewing someone, it's really important to hold the space and go, okay, great, thank you. But I need a specific example. If you don't have one, that's totally fine. But give me a specific example when you demonstrated this or that, all right? Because what you want to do, you want to see how they articulate their answer, and you want to see that it actually demonstrated this value. So it's super, super, super important that you go through this process. So that is a values and experience-based interviews. In relations to experience as well, you want to actually get them to demonstrate to you how they're proficient in that value. So for example, if they're determined, okay, fantastic. If they are hungry to get on the phone, whatever it is, get them to do so. If you're interviewing for a lead generator, for a prospector, well, get them, show you how they actually make their phone calls. If it's an admin base, we'll get them to show you how they're proficient on whatever program that you usually run. Because what happens is that they good talking, but when it comes to walking, chalk and cheese. So often I say people are really good at selling themselves within the interview, but when it actually comes to, well, hang on, you told me that you're proficient in Xero, but you don't know how to actually, do work out GST, there's a little bit of discrepancies there. So you want to actually get them to show you, even come up with a couple of examples of, okay, write out some examples of how you would solve this problem or what you would do in this case. What that does, it gets to see how they problem solve and how they actually think for the answer. The last component for recruitment is team involvement. Now, team involvement in recruiting is highly, highly valuable. The reason why is that, firstly, it enrolls the team and empowers the current team that you've got. Because sometimes when we go into interviews, where we can be so desperate of just finding someone with a pulse, but we're having your team to actually have a quick, 10, 15-minute chat to gauge out that person to see if they're a good cultural fit, makes a massive difference. All right. So some of the things you can, you want your team to be involved in the process. So you can, even if they don't know questions to ask, you can give them 3 to 4 questions to go in the interview and ask and get their viewpoint, get their, what do you think? What did you think about this person? Or why yes or why no? All right. You don't have to actually necessarily agree with them, but once again, you're enrolling them in that process. So there's another element of team involvement. So out of the three, we've got values-based ads role, we've got values and experience-based interviews, and team involvement. Where do you feel that you need the most work now? All right, where do you feel that you need the most work now? I'll get you to write that down. If you're watching the recording, just leave a comment below. Where do you feel that you need the most work now out of those 3 areas? So I've given you some examples, so make sure you've either written them down. You can print these off. The files are in the Facebook page, in the tribe, or in the Members Resource Center. Cool. So there we go. There's recruitment. So any questions, let me know, and we'll move on to the next one. All right, good stuff. So the next part of build is onboarding. Now, there's a great YouTube clip that I've shared before, and we've actually done a whole presentation on onboarding, which is in the Members Resource Center at one of the intensives. It's all video, so it's all in there. I would highly recommend to check it out. And we talk about onboarding as it's so crucial, because just like when you're purchasing a large, when you purchase maybe your car or some furniture or a large ticket item, is that you can sometimes have buyer's remorse. Same thing when we're going for, when your team members come on board, they go through a series of an emotional roller coasters and series of feelings that you want to almost second guess, so you can stay ahead of the curve, so you can have touch points or processes along the way to ensure they have a great experience. Because there's some huge stats. We had Greg Weiss present on some incredible stats around the effects of not getting your onboarding right, how the churn rate of new recruits actually exit your business and they've made the decision within the first 100 days. So getting this stuff right is crucial when growing your team and leveraging your team. So there's 3 key areas when it comes to onboarding, and you want to map out these 3 key areas over the first 100 days to ensure you've got the touch points along the way. And the 3 key areas are broken up. The first one is the logistics. Now, this is all, the logistics are things like, passwords, it's getting your pays right, it's getting the super organized, it's getting keys cut, all those little things that they need to do along the way to feel that there's some love there. Now, this is important because, once again, particularly when it comes to pays and super and things like that, ensuring you've got a system around that is crucial. So what I'll get you to do is to look at what are your logistics within your business and how have you've actually mapped that out in the first 100 days. So once again, these are things like, passwords, keys, your pays, your super, your insurances, your login details, you set up for the different accounts, what else? Your business cards, all those areas that are pretty much tick and flick. All right, so that's logistics. The next component is the tactical. Now, this is about the role. This is the things that are important to that new team member around how they're going to learn and what they're going to do. So the tactical component are things like, what's their training around the software programs that you use? What's the training around the new systems that you have within your business? What's the introductions to the team? What's the introductions to clients, to suppliers? How have you actually mapped that out? What's your format and what's your process around that? So the tactical is the touchy component of how are they learning within their role? What's your first 100 days? How have you mapped it out to ensure that they're onboarded and they've got the confidence and they're feeling empowered along the way? So there's the technical component. The last component is the emotional component. Now, as I said to you before, is that we go through an emotional roller coaster when we start a new role. So these team members experience exactly the same thing. So what we want to do is to presuppose the feelings that they're going through. So what are all the different emotions, if you think back, or even if you get your current team to give you all the emotions that they went through in their first 100 days. They may not remember, but at least they can throw out some emotions that they felt. So it's how to actually identify these emotions and at what stage the person felt these emotions. So that's what they went through. What are the emotions that you want? And then the next component of emotional element is what emotions do you want them to feel? And then what are the triggers and what are the things that you can do to ensure that they feel those emotions? So for an example, one thing might be feeling empowered, right? So for example, that you might actually get them to have a small win within the first couple of weeks. It could be landing a new client or doing something for a client or putting together a deal. Whatever it is, you want to ensure they have a win quickly and fastly so they feel empowered, that they're actually providing value and they've made the right decision to come onto your team. Confidence is another emotion that you want them to feel. How have you provided, what are the touch point that you show them or demonstrate to them that they can feel confidence within their role? What's another little win that they can do within their role to they're feeling confident? Belonging is another emotional element that you want them to feel. So how have you engaged the team to interact? What have you done in relations to the team to interact and also to your clients? That part of belonging is a very strong component. What time have you spent with them to ensure that they're feeling settled, they're feeling confident, and they're feeling belonging to your community and to your organization? So out of those three, the logistical, the tactical, and the emotional, where area do you feel right now that you need the most work? So hopefully you've taken some notes down. What are the three key areas? What's the number one key area out of those three that you feel that you need the most work? All right, fantastic. So now the last area on building is culture. Now culture it's a massive thing. So the definition of culture is the behavior that you want within your organization. What is the behavior that you demonstrate that you want? What are the values? How are you demonstrating that behavior within your organization? So what I see a lot of the time is companies go, oh yeah, we have some team events and we have, got a great calendar and so forth. But culture is not based on team events. Culture is made up of the 1%ers. Culture is made up of the leaders walking the talk and demonstrating what the values that they've said, what they stand for in day-to-day operations. And I call these the 1%ers. Now, the 1%ers are those things that, for example, are broken into 3 key areas. I'm going to go through this in a little bit more detail now. But these 1%ers really make the difference to a good company to a great company. And so hopefully that you've already done a lot of this work, but here are some great examples of some of the 1%ers. So the 1%ers are broken into 3 key areas. So the company, your team, and you. All right. So what are the 1%ers that the company has that you've made as a business, as a company? And these could be your policies. These could be your values. These could be, for example, that you follow an agenda to the meeting so you're not wasting any time. These are things like your code of honor. These are things like how you're demonstrating the values on a day-to-day basis. So what are the, for example, in meetings that there's a no phone policy. When we have flag time, when someone's got the flag up, you don't interrupt them because they're prospecting. Whatever it is, what's your company's 1%ers? And these are on a company-wide element. What are those 1%ers that really make up your culture? Once again, these are the values. These are the code of honor. These are your policies and procedures around team, around staff, around the different roles. So what are the 1%ers as a company? The next element is the team. What's the team 1%ers? These are things like, ensuring that small things as opening doors for someone, the thing of greeting people hello and goodbye. This could be leaving your baggage at home. This could be, never always help a teammate in need. These could be, if the coffee pot is empty, make sure you refill it. These 1%ers make a massive difference to your culture. I'll give an example of where it doesn't work. So working with a client, and one of the doing some training with them, one of the biggest bugbears was within the culture was people didn't unpack the dishwasher and left the dirty cups and glasses in the sink. And what happened was that it was the same culprits, and it was the same people tidying up. And these same people tidying up were starting to get jack of it. And so therefore they would tell their other teammates, and therefore it festered. So we had to have a bit of an intervention and to write some, agreements and some policies that everyone would agree to, and then make a change to make a difference. And sure enough, they did, and everyone was happy. But you can see how just by leaving, some plates out and some coffee cups out can start to fester because other people then are pulling the weight. So it's really important that you listen, really important that you actually have the team agreement so you can move forward together. So there's the team. What are the team 1%ers? And then finally for yourself, what are your 1%ers? This could be, doing the rounds and saying good morning. This could be, checking with your team on a weekly basis. This could be, making sure when you're meeting with your team that you turn your phone off or on silent so you're not getting distracted and you engage. How often are you having coffee chats with them? How often are you singing praise? How often are you giving feedback? So these are the 1%ers. What are the 1%ers that you can do, right? Because when we build your teams, it's important that you clearly identify this and you can start to communicate this, because what happens is when a new team member comes on and they see this, they feel this, and they experience it, they're just like, wow, this is a huge organization. This is incredible. I've never experienced anything like this. So it's really, really important that we get these 1%ers right and we actually implement them and follow through. So out of those 1%ers, we have the company, the team, and yourself. Where do you feel that you need the most work right now? Where do you need the most work? All right, fantastic, good stuff. So there we go. There's the build component of the leadership advantage. We've got recruit, onboard, and culture. So hopefully you're walking away with some clear action items and you can implement that straight away. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. What was the number one thing that you got away from this morning? Make sure you write a comment below and ensure that you get this stuff done, because implementing this into your business is going to have a massive impact on your business. So there we go. So there's the build component: recruit, onboard, and culture. So have a wonderful day, and any questions, please let me know. Looking forward to speaking to you soon. All right, guys. Bye for now.